Good evening. This is TheLionofLegend, and welcome to Touchstarved, which, as far as I'm aware, is a dark visual novel that probably involves romancing a bunch of pretty boys and, whoever else. Let's hop in here. This is a demo, yes. Here's the content warning for all who care. Player discretion is advised. Even choices in red text which contain exclusive content. Oh, a secret ending. Okay. Choose your name. Well, we know how this usually goes. Choose your pronouns. I am a he. This world began to unravel long before you were born. It began with fogfall, spectral mist bled from the seams where reality wore so thin it split. And from that fog emerged monsters, inhuman beings with unnatural powers. Some possessed language and intellect, others were mindless beasts, driven by little more than the desire to slaughter. As cities fell and unrest spread, humans united in their fear while monsters thrived in the chaos. And then there's you. You're not even sure if you're human. You were born cursed, with the hands that alter the minds of anyone you touch. Choose your backstory. Well, that sounds like a very important ability. Let's see. The Unnamed, a fallen oracle. You were raised as an oracle in a remote temple. The priest claimed your touch bestowed enlightenment. But a visiting mage revealed your curse for what it is. Following the mage's words, you fled in search of the cenobium. You regularly experience unnatural premonitions that rattle your body and soul. And in its sixth sense, okay, so this game's gonna have a lot of branches that you can take, if you will. The Hound, a forsaken thief. Society's outcasts, criminals would accept you when nobody else would. Your partner in crime, friend in childhood, helped you steal money for a cure, betrayed you, they left you for, okay, you go into the cenobium. Social intuition. You can survive and even thrive in violent underbelly of any city, using your experience in Underworld. And the Alchemist, an abandoned mage. Exiled cenobium mage took you in as a child, raising you as apprentice. I am going to choose the Hound. Your name is Lion. You selected he/him pronouns. Your backstory is the Hound. Is this correct? Yes. The wasteland stretches as far as the eye can see. There's nothing out here but death, the ever-present stench of decay, and countless sun-bleached bones cast like seeds across the barren land. I could say death doesn't scare me, but to tell the truth, I'm desperate. It's been 2 weeks since I joined a caravan bound across the wastes. Finding a group that would accept me was a trial in itself. As rations grew sparse and my canteen ran dry, I began to despair. But then I saw it. Aridia, the city of knowledge. One of the last bastions of humanity left in the world, and home to the famous academy called the Cenobium. All the world's knowledge gathered in one place. If there's anywhere I'll find a cure for my curse, it's there. All that stands between me and the cure is the final stretch of salt-soaked wastes. Or so I think, until I see the first tendrils of fog sneaking beneath the wagon. Is this the fogfall? My stomach sinks at the very whisper of it. A silent storm more devastating than fire. Dangerous in cities, but a death sentence beyond them. A thick blanket of fog engulfs us, smothering out the lantern's light. The wagon lurches to a stop. An eerie silence heavy as the mist falls over us. The only warning we get is a strangled scream. Stay back! No! The cry dissolves into wet gurgling. Then, the wagon violently pitches to the side. I hit the ground hard, the air punched from my lungs. When I open my eyes, adrenaline lends sudden, awful clarity to the carnage around me. A trader I once shared bread with lies face down in the mud, their back reduced to long strings of torn muscle, gleaming gristle, and exposed bone. Bodies litter the wasteland. I try to rise, but my ankle explodes with pain so blinding, white blooms across my vision. Only when my eyes adjust do I see the dark shape in front of me. A soulless stoops over the twisted form of a caravaner. I freeze, but it swivels its head. A dozen bulging eyes switch in my direction and blink as one. The soulless lets out an ear-splitting shriek and runs at me. But right before it reaches me, the beast barrels past, vanishing into the mist. Distantly, a horse screams in the dark, "I need to move now." Well, already making what seems to be very important decisions. Well, I feel like if I run towards the city, that's like, well, how far am I from the city? Let's run towards the city. I take off, running deeper into the haze. The fog is so thick that I fear I'm heading in the wrong direction, until I see a dim pinprick of light emanating from the shadow of a spire. It's faint, but it's enough. I came too far to die here. Rapid footsteps echo all around me. I turn in circles, frantically searching the opaque mist for the source, but the fogfall twists and stretches sound. Suddenly, the caravan's driver bursts forth from the fog. Our eyes meet too late. He slams into me, knocking me to the ground, and slips in a patch of mud. The soulless falls on him as soon as he slows. It catches the driver by his throat and rakes his stomach with razor-sharp claws. He comes apart like wet paper, spilling intestines and viscera in a steaming tide. Fighting the urge to heave, I claw frantically through the slippery muck for a handhold. Shit! My hand catches on the jagged edge of a rib jutting up from the water. Bandages unfurl around the gouge torn deep into my palm. The pain's quickly forgotten when a hand closes around my wrist. Can you stand? One of the travelers from the caravan leans over me. We need to run. They reach for my hand, and I realize too late that my bandages have come undone. No, don't touch me. The sensation of their thumb brushing the back of my hand sends a shiver down my spine. All it takes is one touch, and in the space of a breath, my curse takes hold. Oof. Their lips peel back into a deranged grin. No, I've seen this face countless times before. This is my curse, madness of my own making. Their grip on my hand tightens until the pain radiates from my knuckles. Let me go. Suddenly, clammy hands crush my throat, choking off my breath. Die, 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 die. Spit bubbles at the corners of their mouth and flecks my face. The edges of my vision darken as my lungs scream for air. We're gonna, I suppose, save again. We're gonna fight him off. My nails gouge deep into the traveler's wrists, but no matter how much blood I draw, they don't flinch. The more I struggle, the tighter their grip grows. My pulse hammers in my ears, slowing with each thudding beat. This can't be happening. I'm going to die, and not because of the fogfall or the soulless, but because of my own curse. Tears sting my eyes. No, 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 not here. Not like this. The hands drop from my neck, leaving me wheezing for air. My lungs burn with each ragged cough. My vision clears, and the traveler's face takes shape, hovering inches from mine, lips still split in the macabre smile, even as blood seeps between their teeth. They give one last shuddering breath, then slump over the claws hooked through their stomach. The soulless shoves the body aside, and the glowing eyes studying its leathery skin thin as though grinning. There's a flash of claws, red spill across my vision. I thought there'd be pain, but as I sink into the murky water, all I can feel is the grit of silt filling my mouth and the icy embrace of shallow water. Distantly, I notice an arm resting among an outcrop of reeds, mine neatly severed at the elbow. I should have taken both arms. Without them, maybe I could have survived. Maybe I could have had a home. Instead, I'll die cold, alone, and face down in a desolate wasteland. A fitting end for a monstrosity like me. If this is death, it's not as bad as I feared. The cold is gone, as is the choking stench of the bog water. I could drift forever, cocooned in oblivion, until all thoughts and sensation vanished. No curse, no howling at me in madness and terror, nothing at all. The thought has a terrible appeal to it. But the next moment, I take a reflexive breath. Air pours into my lungs, then out again a ragged gasp. Ugh. Feeling comes flooding back. Warm cloth on my bare skin, a firm surface underneath me, a strange tang of sulfur in the air. Do not be afraid. I twist my head toward a voice. Tears flood my bleary vision at the bright glow of lamplight. Try not to move. The voice is calm, steady, and commanding. But more importantly, it's a stranger's voice. One thought cuts through my mental fog. I have no idea who this is, and I'm completely at their mercy. Stay away from me. My words come out in little more than a creaky whisper. I clamp my mouth shut, hating how weak and helpless I sound. No. No. Who the hell is this? Well, we'll sit up. I manage to push myself up on one elbow, but my head swims, and my surroundings give an alarming lurch. A stubborn patient. I don't have the strength to dignify with a response. Instead, I pull the sheet up higher and wipe my tears until my vision clears. The stranger towers over my prone form. Warm light reflects off his pristine medical coat. I instinctively shrink back, and that's when I notice that I'm completely naked, except for a thin linen sheet. Naked, lying on a low cot, with a pair of sharp golden eyes watching my every move. The man's gaze flickers to my exposed, unbandaged hands. I plunge my hands under the sheet to hide them from sight, though it's too late. He must have noticed what they look like. Strange, cursed, inhuman. I brace myself for his inevitable suspicion and disgust, but his expression doesn't even flicker from the courteous smile. He just watches in placid silence as I struggle to make sense of my surroundings. Where am I? Who are you? Be calm. You are safe here. Whoever this is, he clearly has no idea who or what I am. I've never been safe anywhere with anyone. The only people I ever trusted betrayed me for a fat purse of coin. I scowl, pulling the sheet protectively around myself. Where are my clothes? The man's golden eyes narrow slightly. A sharp sigh rustles the papers in his hands. I see you are not to be dissuaded. Your clothes were torn to shreds when I found you, but I procured replacements. With a soft creak, he stands from his chair, giving me a better view of my surroundings. I seem to be in some sort of medical clinic. Bottles of silvery, alchemical concoctions line the counters in neat rows. The air makes my nose twitch, a faint whiff of smoke, and something distinctly metallic that I can't quite place. The doctor produces a large, dense bundle of cloth, which he sets at the foot of my cot. He's easily a head taller than most, and I have to crane my neck to look at him. I suppose I'll thank the man. Or this person, I should say. I should be polite if I can, especially since I don't know who this is, what he can do, or what he wants with me. Thank you. You are welcome. I will leave you to get dressed. With a curt nod, he leaves through a narrow door. I hear a soft click as the lock turns behind him. I count to 3 in sudden silence. When I don't hear any more footsteps, I reach for the bundle of clothes. An itch on my elbow stops me short. I reach down absently to rub at it, and then freeze when my fingers meet a neat line of stitches. I know what I saw. The beast took my arm clean off. And yet, my arm shows no sign of injury, apart from the black stitches poking through my skin. I gingerly flex my fingers, feeling my heart race at the sensation. This is impossible. I should be dead, or at the very least, gasping out my last breaths. I squeeze my eyes shut, waiting for the pleasant dream to unravel, to wake up bleeding out in the swamp. But nothing happens. The seconds tick by, and my arm remains resolutely healed, my surroundings pristine and quiet. In numb disbelief, I reach for the replacement clothes and begin stiffly pulling them on. They're thicker and warmer than mine were, with a black woolen cloak to go with them. But there's one thing still missing: my bandages. The golden-eyed man didn't leave me with any, even though I know he saw my hands. I slide off the bed and take a few unsteady steps toward one of the drawers. If this is indeed a doctor's clinic, there must be bandages somewhere. I start opening drawers at random, and of course, that's when the door swings open once more. "Are you looking for something?" I whirl around, clutching a thick roll of clean bandages. I try to step back from him, but my legs bump against the edge of the cot. "Your caution is understandable, though if I meant you any harm, you would know." That doesn't make me feel better in the slightest, but he makes no move toward me, so I quickly wind the bandages around my hands. The glowing scars and mottled skin disappear under a layer of clean white cotton. "May I ask why you need additional bandages?" I clench my jaw. I knew it would only be a matter of time before he asked about my hands, though the way he does it is strangely roundabout. I'm getting a lot of save points. The game did say to save often. Well, we're a little not trustworthy at this point. We can glare at him, I suppose. I fix him with a dead-eyed glare, the one that used to send my fellow thieves into shuddering silence. He doesn't even blink, meeting my eyes serenely as I finish tying my bandages. I am not easily intimidated. I hastily break eye contact, but he says nothing more. At least, he doesn't seem angry. But if he wants answers out of me, I'm going to need some more from him first. "Who are you?" "You may call me Kudas." "And where exactly am I?" "Aridia, which I assume was your caravan's destination. I can think of nowhere else for a group of travelers to go." "Aridia. So I made it to the City of Knowledge after all. I should feel relieved, but all I can manage is a vague sense of increasing unease. How did I end up here?" "I brought you to my clinic, of course. You were the only survivor from the caravan, barely clinging to life. You needed immediate treatment." "Which you provided?" "Yes." He says it so simply, as if I'm a small child and he's explaining basic addition to me. I frown and flex the fingers on my recently healed arm. Aside from being a bit stiff, it feels fine, thoroughly attached to me. "You're saying that you stitched my arm back on?" "Pardon?" "A soulless attacked the caravan. It ripped everyone to shreds. It tore my arm clean off." "But when I woke up here..." I trail off, bewildered. I've never heard of any magic that could heal a mortal wound like that. What kind of person could do such a thing? The doctor, Kudas, pinches the bridge of his nose. He sits back down in his chair, quiet for a long time. "I do not know where you come from, but Aridia is the city of knowledge and deadly secrets alike. Information is power, and it is most unwise to give or receive it freely. Since you have refused to divulge in your secrets, I will not divulge in mine. I do not even know your name. You are new to Aridia, so I will overlook the specific breach of etiquette. However, you should not expect others to extend the same courtesy. Do you understand?" He looks pointedly at my fleshly bandaged hands. Loath though I am to admit it, he has a point. I'm also a complete stranger to him, and if he's telling the truth, he saved my life. I take a deep, steadying breath. This time, when I speak, I sound a bit more like myself. Lion. My name is Lion. It is a pleasure to meet you, Lion. There's a little more warmth in his smile, his polite demeanor back in an instant. Okay, I'm gonna save again. Thank you for saving me. Thank you for saving my life. I chance a smile in return. Even if he won't explain how he did the impossible, there's no doubt in my mind that I'd be dead if not for Karas. Think nothing of it. I'm not sure if he's just being excessively courteous, but his words only raise more urgent questions. But I have to ask, why did you save me? You don't know me. The question seems to startle Karas. I could hardly leave you to die in the wastes. Assisting those in need is the very essence of a doctor's duty. I've never met a doctor who also handed out free clothes. My fingers find the edge of the cloak. There's a subtle, but delicately embroidered pattern around the hem. I try not to think about what kind of price Karas might ask for such well-made clothes. No, I suppose not. Forgive my presumption. I've rarely come across so fascinating a patient. I blink. What did he just say? I simply meant that few would cling to life so resolutely, or brave such a perilous journey to Aridia. I cannot help being curious about you, Lion. His voice dips into a soft murmur, and he abruptly looks away from me. You're pretty curious yourself. Am I? Well, I haven't forgotten about my arm. I wiggle my intact fingers at him. Clearly not. But you haven't asked me for any payment either. I require none from you. Travelers do not have an abundance of coin, and it would be unethical to leave you destitute in a strange place. I fall silent, unsure what to say to that. Nobody would help a horror like me for free. There has to be some kind of catch or trick, right? A loud knock at the front door stops our conversation cold and spares me from having to say anything else. Duty calls. Unfortunately, you are not my only patient today. The knocking grows more insistent, and Karas lets out a tired sigh. Please wait your turn. Though he says it quietly, the clamor on the other side of the door abruptly stops. Do you need anything before you leave, Lion? Oh. Between the soul's attack and my miraculous survival, I'd almost forgotten why I came to Aridia in the first place. I need directions to the cenobium. The cenobium? The look on his face is downright chilling. He pauses, choosing his words with cold deliberation when he speaks again. Whatever you seek, it is very unlikely you will find it there. The cenobium's gates open for precious few visitors. Even if they did, you would not like what you found inside. My heart sinks. Is he saying that I came all this way for nothing? Risked my life and limb for nothing? No, that can't be. I've only just arrived, and Aridia is the largest city still standing. There has to be a cure for me here. Then, if not the cenobium, where would you suggest? Do you know anyone else in Aridia? I shake my head. Then I suggest a local guide. Head to the Wet Wick and ask for the Leander. Excuse me? The Wet what? The Wet Wick. He sounds deeply unamused. Follow the posting advertising Leander's bloodhounds. They are difficult to miss. When you meet Leander, Tell him I sent you. That isn't much to go on, but Kras points towards the clinic's back door. You will be safe so long as you do not draw attention to yourself. That's easier said than done. I've always been a magnet for the worst sort of attention. If you require my assistance, you may return whenever you wish. Though he's smiling, there's a note of finality in his voice. Resigned to my dismissal, I slip out of the back door. I find myself standing in a narrow and rather gloomy alley. I pull the new cloak up over my nose, stepping over the contents of chamber pots that have been emptied into the streets. Something weighs heavily inside one of the cloak's pockets, my coin purse. Everything is still inside, every last coin that I'd scraped together for the journey to Aridia. It doesn't even look like it was opened. There were so few coins to begin with, they probably weren't worth stealing. I glanced back at the clinic's closed door. Kras didn't take any payment. He didn't even ask for a future favor. But he also said that in Aridia, secrets are power. Does he expect me to give up mine at some point? That's not exactly a comforting thought. Still, no matter why he did it, Kras gave me a second chance and a lead on where I might find help. I better get going before he changes his mind. I squeeze out of the alley into the crowded main street. The line outside Kras's clinic stretches down the road already. Two thin peddlers queue along weathered elders. If any place is in desperate need of a free clinic, that's this one. The cobblestones are treacherously rough under my feet, deep grooves worn between them by regularly flooding and decades of hard use. I knew Aridia was a river city, but I didn't expect it to look so eroded. The buildings are tired and dilapidated, all crammed together in narrow streets. A child darts by, clutching something greasy wrapped in paper. The smell of fried food drifts over me. My stomach gives a faint gurgle. This morning's catch, fried up, hot and fresh. Not too many eyeballs today. That sounds disgusting, but I'm starving, so I duck my head under the stall's grubby awning. A large fist leers up at me, its three bulging eyes still visible through the thick layer of crispy batter. The vendor gives me a gap-toothed grin. What's the cheapest thing you've got? The vendor points at a metal basket of what looks like long strips of savory fried dough. Fresh long lads, 3 copper apiece. Don't burn your mouth. I take the coins out, counting them gingerly. At this rate, I might not even be able to afford dinner. Reluctantly, I drop the payment on the counter and take my meal. 2 streets later, I pass under a wrought iron archway adorned with dangling garlands of red and pink lilies. The buildings in this quarter are a dizzying riot of color, painted walls and tinted glass everywhere I look. Sheer red and pink curtains flutter in open doorways. Musical voices call out invitingly. Incense mingles with the pungent scent of flowers, barely covering the salt and musk of warm bodies. This must be Aridia's entertainment district. I'm polishing off my food and dusting the crumbs from my hands when I spot a poster. It features the silhouette of a smiling man wearing a single dagger-like earring and the word Bloodhounds printed above his head. A motto, as above so below, circles the artwork. If Leander... Wait a minute. Have I been saying Leander this whole time? And I should be saying Leander? My goodness. Oh, man. Don't you just have to love screwing up pronunciation for some things that are just so simple and realizing it way later after you already embarrassed yourself. Oh well. If Leander is the leader of the Bloodhounds, then the face printed on the poster is likely his. I follow the line of identical posters around the corner and nearly hit my head on the precariously dangling wooden sign. Looking up, faded orange letters read, "The Wet Wick." The facade of the building looks like it's seen better days, but I hear faint music and laughter coming from inside. The inside of the bar is a far cry from the abandoned exterior. It's not even midday, yet most of the tables and booths are occupied by a loose assembly of people in matching green cloaks. There's a lot you can tell about a city by its dives. This one seems ordinary enough, even if the uniforms are unusual. A cursory glance doesn't turn up anyone with a dagger-shaped earring. I'm about to head towards the counter when a chant rises from the center of the room. Show! 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 The remaining green cloaks abandon the bar and their booths to rush toward the center of the room in a sudden torrent. There's no time to move out of the way. I'm caught, swept along the ale-stenched current. Hey! Rhythmic chanting drowns out my voice. I thrash, throwing out my elbows as the press of bodies grow heavier. My hip knocks into a table. I grip it, holding on tight to steady myself. But the crowd has stilled, the chanting stopped. A pair of gilded boots stride across the tabletop. Seriously, you dogs? Again? Scattered laughter and cheers rise from the audience. I drag my eyes upwards. A well-dressed man stands on the table in front of me, his broad shoulders framed by the thick lapels of a trench coat. This really is the last time, all right? And this time, when he speaks, the audience falls silent, as though bewitched by his magnetic presence or rich, low voice. But nothing is as captivating as his smile. He beams at the crowd around him, a performer on his makeshift stage. Don't blink, or you'll miss it. He laughs, and the dagger-shaped earring dangling from his left ear catches the light in a flash of gold. It would seem I found Leander. He raises his hand above the audience and snaps. A flash of pale green light, real magic, no ordinary stage trick, blinds me. As the brilliance ebbs, my gaze refocuses on the mage towering above me. He flicks his wrist, and the magic spiraling around him coalesces. A delicate flower stem sprouts from between his pinched fingers. One by one, glowing lily petals spring forth. With a flourish, the mage presents the conjured flowers. The audience bursts into clapping and cheers. A genuine magic show was the last thing I expected from a place called the Wet Wick. Leander plucks the iridescent bouquet out of the air and turns into a slow circle, giving his audience a good look. Now, who could use some good luck? Eager onlookers scoot closer to the table. Some reach for the lilies, while others whistle and call Leander's name. But his cool green eyes slide right over them, locking on me instead. How about you? My chest tightens. Every person gathered turns to stare at me. Well, I suppose I can take the flowers. I reach out, all too aware of the way my fingers tremble as I clearly take the flowers from him. There's no weight to them, only a faint warmth that radiates from the stems. As soon as the flowers leave Leander's hand, their light dims. They fade away in a shower of opalescent light. To my surprise, Leander laughs under his breath. And that's the problem with flowers. They don't last long, but they leave an impression, right? He grins at me, and I find myself smiling back. Leander steps off the table, dropping among the excited crowd with an audible clink. All right, bloodhounds, get back to your drinks. Show's over. The green cloaks disperse at his command, returning to their tables and booths. Before I can make my way towards Leander, his eyes find me. He gives me a friendly wave, then beckons me over to the crowded counter. I manage to squeeze beside him, but there's so little room that his broad shoulders press against mine. I tense, but he doesn't seem to mind at all. Is this your first time in Aridia? He says it lightly, with a genuine air of curiosity. Do I stick out that much? No, but I'm certain I'd remember seeing a face as lovely as yours around Lowtown. My eyes flicker to the polished countertop. I'm not used to flattery, and being this close makes eye contact difficult. As if on cue, the bartender approaches us. What can I get you? Surprise me, and add anything my friend wants to my tab. I wasn't expecting the generosity, but I have to admit, I do feel a little thirsty after all that fried dough. I'll save, and I'll have what Leander's having. I'll have what he's having. While the bartender leaves to fix our drinks, Leander leans his elbows on the counter. I'm close enough to notice the purple shadows under his lower lids. His eyes wander over me in return, but when they lock on my bandaged hands, a sour taste rises in my throat. Here comes the questions. So, what brings you to the Wick? Kras sent me. He pushes his hair back from his forehead, but it immediately falls right back into place. So, it's about work. The bartender returns with a pair of glasses filled with what I can only assume is beer. I raise my glass and give it an experimental sniff. It smells faintly yeasty, but with an undercurrent I can't quite place. A quick sip confirms my worst suspicions. It's awful. Somehow briny and sour in a way that reminds me of pickles. But any thought of complaining dies the moment I look up and see Leander taking a deep swig from his glass. He lets out a satisfied breath. How can I be of assistance? I need to get to the cenobium. As soon as the word cenobium leaves my mouth, the entire bar falls silent. Bloodhounds twist around in their seats to gawk openly. Finally, an especially drunk one speaks up. The hell are you, bringing up the cenobium in here? Throw him out. This is bloodhound territory. The vitriol catches me off guard. From the angry looks thrown my way, it's clear I've broken some unspoken rule just by mentioning the cenobium. When I glance at Leander, he's drinking, as though he hasn't noticed the uproar. Only when he catches me looking does he lower his glass. For the love of... He drags a hand down his face. Hey, keep it down, will you? This is business. I tense, expecting an argument, but the outspoken bloodhounds silently return to their drinks. Only a handful continue to watch me warily. Sorry about them. The cenobium's a bit of a touchy subject in these parts. Mix in enough drinks and, well, you saw. How about we continue this outside? When I give him a terse nod, he pushes away from the bar counter. I follow Leander to an alleyway tucked behind the Wet Wick, where layers of frayed bloodhounds posters have been plastered to the walls. Seeing them side by side, the resemblance between Leander and his likeness on the posters is impressive. Kraus didn't send you here for help with the cenobium, did he? From the look he gives me, he already knows the answer. I glance away. No, he didn't. He suggested I find an alternative. Yet here you are, asking about them anyway. What do you need the cenobium for? I don't want to tell him about my curse. The less people know about my capabilities, the better. Thankfully, Leander takes my reluctant silence as an answer. Well, I see you're already aware of the city's currency. Information's worth its weight in gold here. Kraus told you the truth. The cenobium's dangerous. Get on their bad side and they'll imprison you if you're lucky, or torture you if you're not. But the cenobium's supposed to be a place of learning, a sanctuary. The cenobium has always been heralded as the last bastion of human knowledge, a shining beacon of hope in a world steep in nightmares. If any place held answers, it would be the cenobium. That's why I came here. That's what they want you to think. But things that seem too good to be true are often just that. Such a simple statement, and yet it leaves me reeling. If it's true, if I staked everything on a lie, then what now? Leander clears his throat. But as I say, there's solutions to every problem, and alternatives to every solution. He claps his hands and turns to me with a brilliant smile. That's why Kraus pointed you to the bloodhounds. Let us help you. Whether it's hunting solace, finding people, or recovering stolen valuables, we can do it all, and free of charge. I'm shaking my head before he's even finished this practiced speech. My patience is wearing dangerously thin. Listen, I appreciate the offer, but my problem can't be solved by a group of good Samaritans. To my chagrin, Leander nods slowly. Then your problem must be fairly serious, and if the cenobium's your first choice, you're searching for a magical solution, aren't you? When my eyes widen, he nods along, as though he suspected all along. I'd be happy to help you out. That is, if you tell me what ails you. Leander might not work for the cenobium, but he is a mage, and a powerful one at that, if his demonstration earlier is any indication. I'm silent, plagued by indecision. I don't know if I can trust him, but it's not like I have any alternatives. I hate to admit it, but this could be my only path forward. My confession comes out in a pained whisper. I'm cursed. Cursed? Oh, now I'm very curious. What kind of curse? Something ancestral or more recent? He looks me up and down, taking in my face, my eyes, and finally my hands. It's your hands, isn't it? I wait until I'm certain my voice will remain steady before answering. My touch is dangerous. It changes people, hurts them. Before I've even finished, Leander begins to take his glove off. He tugs his left hand free and flexes his fingers. Let's see it. He offers me his hand, and a prismatic flash of magic ripples across his palm. But I'm already shrinking backwards. I can't. I don't care how confident Leander is. I can't bring myself to hurt him, to see his kind face twist into a mask of badness. Believe me, this isn't an ordinary curse. I'll be fine. Perhaps where you came from, Your affliction was strange and one of a kind. But spend a year in this city, you'll see 1,000 curses and thrice as many cures. Do you really think Kuras would send you here if I couldn't handle it? How should I know? I only met him today. I'm as good as any mage in the Cenobium. Better, even. If they can help, so can I. You don't know what you're asking me. I'm asking you to trust me. I look from Leander's outstretched hand to his confident smile. Then, with a short breath, I begin unwinding the bandages from my hand. Fine, but if you lose control, don't say I didn't warn you. You can tie me up first if it makes you feel better. With each joint I expose, I grow more and more certain that this is a terrible idea. Ready when you are. If he's bothered by the way my hand looks, he doesn't show it. My fingers hover shakily over his palm. 3, 2, 1. Well, since this guy is so sure of himself. I tap his palm once, as quickly as possible. It's barely more than a brush, but that's all it ever takes. When I look at his face, expecting to see the worst, Leander only grins. See? It can't be. This time, when I reach out to Leander's palm again, he catches my wrist before I can pull away. I told you, there's really nothing to worry about. He trails off when my thumb brushes the soft skin of his inner wrist. I search Leander's face for traces of madness, but his eyes remain a clear, soft green. Color rises in his cheeks, but he remains still except for the subtle bobbing of his throat. Neither of us speak as I trace the contours of Leander's palm, lost in an awareness I wasn't prepared for. I've been with other people, kissed them, been embraced by them, and more, but not like this. My fingers, long deprived by years of bandaging, pick up every single detail. The grooves of his palm, the smooth shell of his nails, the pulse of his heart. For as long as I've lived, I've never been able to hold someone's hand. Not without dire consequences. I never realized what I was missing until this moment. While Leander's pulse is steady, mine is hammering as fear gives way to excitement. Oh boy, oh goodness. Oh man, well, we'll keep touching him. My hand glides over Leander's wrist and up his forearms, where smooth skin abruptly gives way to the raised scar by the edge of his sleeve. It matches the one that runs from his collar to cheekbone. Could it be the same wound? I glance at Leander's face, and his lips part as he considers his words before speaking. Am I the first person you've been able to touch like this? My hand goes still on his arm. So far. I'll admit, your touch does make it somewhat difficult to stay level-headed, but not due to your power. He takes my hand. His soft green eyes flick to mine before he turns it to inspect the golden fissures crisscrossing my knuckles. Look, we match. He points at a golden pin in his coat collar, and I give him a small smile. I draw my hand back and take a steadying breath. My head feels as though it's stuffed with cotton. Habit alone guides me through the motions of rewrapping my hand, although my fingers tremble too much for the bandages that lie flat. I can't believe that worked. May I ask your name? I'm Lion, You were right to hide this from me, Lion. That curse of yours. It's unlike anything I've ever dealt with. I can tell you're discreet, but you'd best not go showing that off to anyone else. I didn't plan on it. Are you staying in Lowtown? I pause. Room and board was something I hadn't yet considered. I don't know. Let's get you properly settled then. Okay, well, I think we've made quite a bit of progress. I'm going to save here, and this is where I'm going to cut off this video for now. And I will definitely catch back up in the very near future. This is so far quite interesting. I'm not sure what's going on with this hand, but I suppose we will find out hopefully soon. Though this is a demo, I don't know how much more time I do have for this visual novel demo, but we'll find out maybe in a second part. That all being said, if you like this, go ahead and like the video, subscribe, leave a comment, tell me how you feel about this. Go ahead and share the video out, I would appreciate that. And until next time, you all have a great night.